We have a bulletin just received.
I've never encountered anything like this world.
Hi, welcome to Digital Color, more specifically, the online version of the Foundation Digital Color class. I'm Scott Ligon, an associate professor at the Cleveland Institute of Art, and I'll be your instructor for the class. The Digital Color class explores additive synthesis, creating color with light. Primary colors are the colors that are used to create all the other colors. In additive synthesis, light, the primary colors are red, green, and blue. Secondary colors are colors that occur when you mix any two primary colors in equal amounts. In additive synthesis, the secondary colors are cyan, magenta, and yellow. When you add all three primary colors together in equal amounts, they create white. Additive synthesis. Red, green, and blue, RGB, is a color mode. Color modes are models for managing color. Each color mode has a predetermined range of colors and method of color management. We will be using the RGB color mode in this class with primary colors red, green, and blue because it has a wide color gamut. Gamut is the range of colors that can be accurately reproduced in any given color mode. A good color mode will have the widest possible range of reproducible colors. The Digital Color class explores three color concepts: color harmonies and associated meaning, atmospheric perspective and how to use it to clarify a composition, and optical or partitive color, where small bits of color are placed next to each other and your eye and your brain do the blending. Projects in this class use Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator. Here's how the class works. There are 3 assignments, 1 for each color concept. You watch the introductory lecture, you watch the technical instruction for the project, practice and learn. You download and review the written materials. You'll have 2 weeks to complete each project and hand it in. Once you hand in your project, I'll do a written critique of the project, telling you what I think works well and what I think could use improvement. It's a 7-week class, so things move really quickly. It's really important to hand your work in on time. If you hand in an assignment late, the grade for the project will be lowered by 1 letter grade. All the work must be completed by the end of the 7-week class. It's going to take some self-discipline to make sure you keep up with the work. The class offers people a lot of freedom, but with freedom comes responsibility, so be big boys and big girls, do the work, and complete your assignments on time. All of the due dates are on your syllabus for the class. You can email me if you have any questions, and I'm available to meet with you in person if necessary. We want to make sure you have a great and valuable experience with the class. Color Concept 1, Color Harmonies. It's about math, although we're not going to talk about numbers. Color harmonies are about creating a balance of colors, creating a structure of color in a composition so that the colors balance each other out. If you had a bunch of colors in an artwork that has achieved harmonious balance of colors, and you were able to stir up all of those colors and mix them all together, they'd turn into a big neutral gray because they balance each other out. It doesn't mean that your goal is to produce gray artwork. Balanced, harmoniously colored artwork can be filled with vibrant colors. Like other elements of the visual language, understanding and using color harmonies in your work is about purposefulness. It's about using colors as visual themes that reoccur throughout your composition. It's about creating a work of art that feels complete and purposeful to the viewer. The visual language is non-verbal. It's about relationships of lines, shapes, and colors. A viewer can sense and respond to works that are complete and purposeful even when they have no idea why it feels that way. But as an artist, it's important that you understand these underlying structures. The viewer is the driver, but you are the mechanic. You need to know how to make the motor run. Creating colors. We're going to talk about some specific color harmonies that are commonly used. But first, let's talk a little bit more about how colors are mixed together. This applies to colors that are mixed with a paintbrush as well as colors that are mixed using sliders in Photoshop, Illustrator, and other digital tools. This is a color wheel representing the full spectrum of colors. Primary colors. As I mentioned in our introductory lecture, primary colors are the colors that are used to mix all the other colors together. Red, green, and blue are the primary colors when mixing with light, like on a digital screen. This is called additive synthesis because all of the colors add up to create white. Secondary colors. When you mix any two primary colors in equal amounts, you create what are known as secondary colors. When working with light, the secondary colors are cyan, magenta, and yellow. Tertiary colors. When you mix any primary color with a secondary color, you make a tertiary color, tertiary third. Violet and orange are two examples of tertiary colors in additive synthesis. But what's important to remember is that if you have two colors on the color wheel and you mix them in equal amounts, then it creates the color that's in between them on the color wheel. Examples of color harmonies. Let's look at some specific color harmonies that you can use to create structure and purpose, literal harmony in your work. Achromatic. Achromatic means no color at all, just black and white and shades of gray. Monochromatic. Monochromatic means work using a single color. This would usually include variations in value, dark and light, but one color. Analogous. Analogous colors are colors that are near each other on the color wheel. In an analogous color harmony, since all of the colors are near each other on the color wheel, these colors are closely related to each other, and it may help to create a subtle blend of colors in your work. Harmony is achieved because of the close relationship between the colors. Complementary. Complementary colors are colors that are directly across from each other on the color wheel. Complementary colors have pretty much the opposite effect of analogous colors. They are as far away from each other as you can get on the color wheel. They are opposites which contain none of each other in their color mixing. If you mix two complementary colors together in equal amounts, they make gray. They balance each other out. Harmony. Because complementary colors are complete opposites on the color wheel, they tend to pop against each other and be very vibrant, sometimes even psychedelic in appearance. Split complementary. In a split complementary harmony, the balance of color is achieved in a slightly more sophisticated way. In a split complementary harmony, you take a color and then you go to the opposite side of the color wheel and you select the two colors that are on either side of the complementary color. This has the same balancing effect as a complementary color harmony, but it might be slightly less intense. Triadic. In a triadic color scheme, three colors are equally spaced around the color wheel. You see a lot of triadic color schemes in company logos, corporate logos, because they appear bright and colorful, but not garish and agitating. Tetradic. A tetradic color harmony is a color scheme that uses two separate pairs of complementary colors that are two spaces apart from each other on the color wheel. There are also other kinds of double complementary color harmonies using different spacings, but tetradic is perhaps the most common. When working with a tetradic color harmony, artists will often use one of the complementary color pairs more prominently and use the other pair of complementary colors as a secondary color theme or accent colors. Complementary, split complementary, triadic, and tetradic color schemes all achieve harmony by creating a balance of color around the color wheel. Again, if you mixed all the colors together in any of these color schemes, they'd create a neutral gray. The three components of color. One more related topic I want to cover before we talk about your assignment. Color has three components: hue, saturation, and value. Hue. Hue is what the color is, the basic essential color. Value. Value is how dark or light the color is. Saturation. Saturation is how intense or pure a color is. Color with a little bit of gray added becomes less intense, for instance. Assignment 1, Color Harmonies. Download the assignment sheet for details, but here's the basic information on your first assignment. Create an artwork using only the colors in a specific color harmony. Choose from analogous, complementary, split complementary, triadic, or tetradic. Don't use achromatic or monochromatic. Don't use achromatic or monochromatic color schemes because they don't have challenging color relationships. Only use the colors in your chosen harmony. Only use the colors in your chosen harmony. You can use different values of the color, different color intensities, but use the essential colors in your color harmony and nothing else. Use no other colors in your composition. When you hand in your project, tell me what color harmony that you've used. Any style or subject matter is acceptable for the first assignment. It should be well designed, purposeful, and elaborate enough to represent 2 weeks' worth of work. It can be painted, or it can use photographic elements, or a combination. It should be digital, of course. Be original. We'll have more discussion about using found images next semester in digital synthesis, but if you're creating a collage that involves using found images, like images from the web, be careful not to use the ideas of other artists in your work in the same context as the original artist. Examples of this would be taking someone else's photograph and just sticking a few other elements in it and then keeping their same basic compositional ideas. Another example would be taking a drawing or a stylized photo made by somebody else and using the image in exactly the same way in your composition. Of course, if you take your own photos or you create your own digital images, that eliminates the issue entirely. You can use any combination of apps to help create the image, but I want you to finish it in Photoshop using the document that we set up. Many students create their work using only Photoshop, and that's great too. Examples of student solutions. Let's take a look at some examples of student solutions for this assignment. Setting up your file correctly. It's important that you set up your Photoshop document using the right specs and then just drag everything into it so you know that you're working with a document with proper resolution, etc. We'll cover this in detail in the technical instruction, but no matter how many times that I say this, people will occasionally open up some tiny low-res web image in Photoshop and then start dragging all their stuff on top of it and painting on it. And if you do this, everything that you do is reduced to the size and the resolution of the random image you opened. If your entire work is based on a web image that's 1.5 inches tall, it's not going to print well no matter what you do. Let me finish up by talking about the technical instruction for this project. There are several videos offering technical instruction in this class. First, we'll talk about file setup, including resolution, file format, and color mode. Then, we'll talk about instruction in the Photoshop basics, including selections, layers, and image adjustments. The final instruction video for this project will talk about some Photoshop tools that are specifically useful for colorizing elements and working in a specific color palette. Now, I know that some of you are likely to have previous experience with Photoshop and some of you do not. if you feel like you know a lot of the basics, at least watch the basic instruction to make sure that you have all the tools for the project and that we're on the same page. If you are new to Photoshop, please actually do the basic exercises. They should take about the equivalent of half a day in class. People in the physical classes are doing these exercises. Now, on to the next video to set up your document.